a self-proclaimed white supremacist carries more weight in a post-George Floyd world.
And this is particularly for white Catholic people. You don't have to hear our stories, nor see our pain to advocate for, your fellow human, or ask for human equity.
Most had to speak to Jeremy Christian via a video feed. That's because of something that happened early on. Demetria Hester was speaking. Christian was convicted of attacking her the night before the stabbings, and police let him walk away from the scene. Here's some of what she had to say, followed by his outburst. And a warning, his rant is hard to listen to.
In my case, the white supremacist got special treatment from the police. The police officer Gasky believed the assault was made by the assailant. He didn't believe me or the two TriMet supervisors that pointed Jeremy Joseph Christian out and told him that he assaulted me. He refused to detain the assailant, and he let him walk away, knowing who he was. And when you die and go to hell, I hope you rot.
See you there.
No, hey.
Go back to Tennessee too.
What I tell you.
Go back to Tennessee too.
You can.
We don't want you here. All your race hating bull. You ain't gonna be mayor either. You ain't gonna be mayor either. The whole city was all George Ford.
Are you ready?
George Ford. I should have killed. I should have killed you. Everybody knows you were mine.
Quiet. We're in the court. He's gone. That's the stuff he.
And over the past few weeks, we've grieved together as the Black community has endured more senseless acts of racial terror and violence. At YouTube, we believe Black lives matter, and we all need to do more to dismantle systemic racism. We're committed to doing better as a platform to center and amplify Black voices and perspectives. And we're working to ensure Black users, artists, and creators can share their stories and be protected from hateful, white supremacist, and bullying content. We know there is much more work.
But at the same time, you have to show some respect, especially in this position that we're in, where we're playing a game for a living, and it's almost like disrespectful to, you see all these pictures of these veterans that have no legs and they're standing up in their wheelchair, and I had a brother that served and he lost friends, and I know how much it means to him, and it's shameful.
The San Francisco 49ers quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, I don't even know how to pronounce this douchebag's name, and I don't care. He's making headlines because he refused to stand during the national anthem at the Packers 49ers pregame on Friday because he thinks that the American flag, the national anthem, and everything America is symbolic of oppression of Black people. This a guy who's getting paid an estimated $19 million a year by the country that oppresses Black people. This by a guy who's living in a country where the president is Black. This by a guy whose Black father knocked up his mother and then abandoned her, which then resulted in a nice white couple adopting him and raising him and giving the quality, love, and opportunities that has led to him playing in the NFL, making $20 million a year. His entire Twitter account is filled with Black Lives Matter propaganda. And once again, I've triggered the liberals by tweeting out hashtag #GoBackToAfrica, which many mentally enslaved morons think is racist, but it's not. It's the logical solution for someone who is just disgusted by living in a country that has a white majority that, again, has paid him $20 million a year. You want to be surrounded by, people of color, by your own kind, then there's a whole continent, Colin, that's filled with those kinds of people. You should move there.
Have white people adequately shown any level of contrition for what they've done to Black people in America? Can you honestly say that white people have been contrite for the plight of Black people in America? Can you say that?
Absolutely not. And the reason why a lot of people, including one of the candidates, has trouble apologizing is in their mind, and maybe this is true of a a lot of white people, they say, we are not intentionally hurting you. We're exercising our right to win at all costs. So since my intention is not to hurt you, but exercising my right to win at all costs, I don't owe you an apology if you're collateral damage.
Did you hear that?
Isn't that what we're seeing with Mr. Trump? Is that I don't have anything to apologize for because I'm in this to win. And if you're not in it to win, in my book, you're a loser. And so I don't.
I'm just doing me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you feel hurt, but I had no intention of hurting anyone. I just have 100% intention of winning and doing whatever it takes to do that. So I don't owe you an apology.
I'm just doing me. No, that's
heavy.
That's an ill statement.
Are y'all?
Good afternoon. This is Rudolf from Germany. I am addressing today specifically Afro-American people. I might be probably the first white man, Aryan German man, who is admitting something to you. I took a long time to think about this video which I'm showing you, a very short one, about the white race. Many of you dark-skinned people, in America mainly, have had a suspicion for a very long time. White people are not really human. And this suspicion has been around for a long, long time. And like any suspicion which is around for a long, long time, there is a little bit of truth to it. I want to admit today to you that white people originating from Northern Europe are called not aliens, they are called Aryans. Sorry about that, my brain don't function so well today. These white people are not really human from this earth like black people are, Indian people are, Asian people are. Yes, they are all humans. We white people are actually a minority, and we are, let's face the truth, also called the tall whites. Not all of us are tall, not all of us are completely white, but in general that's what it is. And as some of you may know, the tall whites are not really earthly human, but we're coming out of space, out of another galaxy. We are not human as the rest of the human race. We came here from another star, we white people, in order to control the world. We white people all have a secret code, a secret language under each other. We know, no matter how nice we pretend to be, we all stick together in order to control the other races, particularly the black race. And I am feeling so bad about it by now that I had to speak out here on this video and admit it. White people are not human. White people, including myself, all stick together, know the truth which they do not want to admit to you. White people are out of space. We come from another galaxy. We all know our home planet, which we don't want to reveal because we don't want to be attacked. And we have no good intention with you. We do not want to share our wealth with you. We do not want to share our knowledge with you. You have been mistreated hundreds of years ago, and this is very, very bad. And your chances in life, to the most of you, many many of you have no chance in life. You can sit and wait for work on a corner with your other friends, and work will never arrive to you. It's very, very hard, I know. And we rich people, we white people, we alien people don't want to share what we have with you, so you have a good time. This is my testimony in public. White people are for another planet.
Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blow Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News Report. Black Minds News is the report. Articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information at the creator of the universe, be here heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this land that you call the United States, we, today's children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what the motto of my show is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Today's date is July 4th, 2020. Another show by Black Minds News. I got some things we want to talk about on this 4th of July. Independence of your lives. How about that? We're going to be independence of your lives. So we got some stories we're going to touch and go over. As the theme for today, as you've seen on your thumbnail, and going across the news of some stories that I thought that was very interesting, or something that should be brought to your attention, just in case you have not heard or know anything about it. Black Minds News is coming with another story and show to put together and provide that which we do. Again, this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. And stay tuned as we get ready to delve into this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blow Your Mind, and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube, right? First and foremost, I want to say what's good to my fam, my subscribers, old ones, my day ones, and I haven't had no new ones, other the fact that I do get new ones. As soon as I get them, YouTube take them away. Ain't that something? I get 3, 4, and then all of a sudden 3, 4 go away. Yeah, ain't nobody seeing the video, but the subscribers come and then their subscribers go. Well, obviously, they may go down, as I'm going to tell you right now. Go down the aisle, see some things. We always got a grand opening. If you happen to see something to make you feel some kind of way, remember the motto of my show is the truth don't need no partner, right? You know, maybe that's what it is. Sometimes some people go in here, they come in there, they like what they seen originally, the first show that they might have seen. Go ahead, subscribe, and then go down that aisle and happen to see another particular show or something that might irk them, and they said, I'm getting the hell up out of here. That could be it. Or is it just a simple fact that is the boogeyman that works in the system of YouTube, who got a stick in his craw for whatever thing I do, and he said, no way. But can you imagine that? A show that's been around since 2012, been having 2.9 thousand subscribers going back to probably like 2016. Here he is in 2020, 8 years. And you want to say, I can't get no subscribers, I can't get 3,000, I can't, you understand? So that's why my moniker is, I am the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube, right? So my intro there was things for those who might have been paying attention to the scene, right? So we seen that that what's happened up there with the I think that's Portland, Oregon, right? With that Jeremy Christian, right? The white supremacist there that you seen in the courtroom. The sister who sat there after, I guess she had been attacked by him. He had killed several people, those who remember, that was on the train up there in Portland. And I think just the other maybe it was a couple of days ago, last week, that had came up. Actually, that slipped through. I was doing some other things. But the fact is, that was the scene in the courtroom where you seen the sister was reading, knowing that he's been sentenced, probably for life, I guess. And she read some things, and she said that, you know, she wish him well in hell and hope he rots, right? And then he got into this back and forth, being mad about, you know, talking about he should have killed her, right? You heard it, right? He took his mask off, started snarling, growling, I should have killed you, right? Right? And, I mean, again, you know, with such veracity and hate, where does that come from? From a people who, according to the country, as is on this day of 4th of July and the independence and the beauty that you claim and what you preserve and what has been, you know, your privilege in this land, how could one be with such vitriol and hate to another people who have on this day is something does, again, it is not the independence. They're still waiting on that, right? And so whatever stick up in his craw, whatever got him like that, that is so real to him that, you know, did you just see it? It was like, wow, right? Huh? Somebody could be that damn angry about what? But I mean, if they could really sit down and ask the person that question, what would they tell you? You know, probably don't have no real legitimate reason, but some shit that they made up in their damn mind, right? And so I also put in there was a clip that I had went back and did. I think it was in 2016. It was about the whole time when, you know, when the Colin Kaepernick situation about not standing for the flag. Matter of fact, there was a video I did called the two-sided flag, right? The flag with two sides to it, right? And you heard this cat that was a YouTuber out here and said his part as, again, wanted to, you know, again, these lies that people try to use to substantiate their position and not want to look at the facts of what really done happened. So in order to have a comfort of mind, they have to kind of paint a picture that even though if you was trying to follow the dots, they don't really connect. But the logic that they come from to give them solace of mind, this is what they say. So he goes into the Colin Kaepernick and saying that, again, an individual who doesn't want to stand for the flag because he's being disrespectful to the country because you won't stand. But nobody won't look at the fact that the country has not been worthy of the praise for all people, because the people that you say that may be not standing, it's not like the fact that they hate this country. You know, Martin Luther King said, live up to the true meaning of what you say. And for a lot of people, some people cannot put their feet in those shoes to understand from the perspective of other people. And so you believe every way that how you see life, that that's the only way it can be, and that the position that other people may be talking about seem to be a figment of their imagination. And so you would say that here was a man who was making $20 million to play a game that is an American game, the game that was created by the people who you hate so much. But the truth of the matter is, if you was to find out the origins of the money, the economics that was those who were able to come together and create this, you know, institution of NFL, right? This foundation for this NFL. Where did they get the money to do that? off the blood, sweat, and tears off the backs of BADOS, which is Black American Descendant of Slaves. But that's part of the equation that we're going to cut out, right? That's the lobotomy when it comes to their argument, right? They're going to cut that part out. And so he goes on and says that here it is, Colin Kaepernick, who he fights against, stands up for black people, but he was made by a black man who abandoned him and left his mother, his poor mother. But somehow in the next breath, he said that this nice white family comes and adopts him. Now, what was wrong with the white mother that birthed him, keeping him? Right? But a nice white family came and took him in. But his mother who had him didn't keep him, allowed him to go into the system. Well, this family that got him and brought him in and raised him like a Tarzan type, right? And that's why there was so much hatred towards Colin Kaepernick, is because they said, look, wait a minute, a white family raised you and taught you. Why you turn your back against them, right? Ignore that part of you that you feel you have an allegiance to, right? Ignore that part, because this is where the truth is. This is where it says, this is who you want to be, and we've taken you in, and now you turned on us. So that's why he got so much backlash, is because of his history, right? And so they had to utilize and say the disrespect. And then here it is later. If anybody who's seen yesterday's show, I showed you, from what was said in the country to now the turn of events. And now they're saying, right, they just turned around from a 360 from what you initially said to now that because of what done happened and the coming catastrophe of collapsing maybe of your business, you need a change of heart. Then the last part on there you've seen was a show where I had an individual who was sitting there and he said something I thought that was very, very, let's say, as we talk about this show being the independence of your lies, just like Rudolph, who tells the truth, in German, right? Rudolph say, white people from outer space and all that. Well, even though that's lies too, right? But anyway. So we had this individual who said that the reason, he said, now, white people, right? Well, the question came to him was, the question that was posed to him was this. It says, why does white people don't have contrition for black people, right? Contrition, right? And so when you say contrition, you're talking about penance, right? Repentance, right? Let's say contriteness, sackcloth. Sackcloth is when you, in the Bible, when they talk about somebody, mourning over somebody, put sackcloth and ashes on. Remorse, compunction, regret, sorrow, pangs of conscience, guilt, right? Shame, embarrassment, self-humiliation, right? Self-mortification, right? Self-blame, self-accusation, right? And some people would say, well, white people do have what they say white guilt, right? And they say, well, that breeds a fragility of mind, and based on what done happened and this overfloweth of, things that are now being revealing as to what had been hidden, and then to see how people across the globe are all in agreement to the same kind of mistreatment no matter where you go, right? And so here was a question being posed to a white man about contrition. And this is how he answered. If you heard him, he said that, their intention was never to really hurt you, right? Right? But this is called a race, right? And they're in it to win at all costs, right? There's no apologies needed to be said because it's nothing but collateral damage in the game. Now, if you want to cry about it, well, that's your business, but the game is about winning. And so if they say if it's winning at all costs, but where's the human element in that, right? When does a person realize like you are beating somebody to a poke to the fact that their existence, and you somehow try to make that their existence is their own problem. You make some people try to reverse psychology, and that the conditions and what they live in and what they've gone through is under their own, their own will. But he said something that was true, but how many of them, like, again, Rudolph from Germany said the same thing. He said some things that white folks normally don't say. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them that don't like hearing that. I didn't say it. He said it, right? He said that there's a code amongst you. He said that their intentions are whatever. He said they're all in agreement, right? But then he has to be alone, just like this other white man said that, hey, wait a minute, hey, we're no contrite here, or no contrition, because this is the game. This is how it plays. You either get tough or get in and do what you got to do. Is rigging and lying and cheating. That's all part of the game, the way they play, right? But it's funny how they can say all that is part of the game, but then they make rules and regulations and then say that there's a rule of law, but the rule of law does not apply to them. And so what happens when people get to that level of, fed upness, right? When they get to that level of, okay, enough lies that I done found out that you've been lying to me. Every form, fashion, got me in a way that I can't really exude my full potential. Then what you see is a collective, of the same people of one mindset about the grievance that the globe has. The globe has a grievance. Yes, it may be the simple fact of what happened on May 25th, 2020. But there was a thing in it that everybody can recognize of some semblance in their own life and people who they have in contact with. So we're going to get into this because, again, the name of the show today is The Independence of Your Lies. All right, the independence of your lies. So I'm going to take you over here, right? And we'll start with this lies, right? We're going to see what happens here. And we'll come back right after that, so be ready to do that. So check this out, y'all. We shall be right back afterwards. Check this out.
I really should. You acting like that you black. You acting like you white when you really black. Don't walk up on me for real. And what you want to do? I really should. You acting like that you black. You acting like you white when you really black. Don't walk up on me for real. And what you want to do?
All right, so we back, right? So what you saw there is that a Miami cop got caught on camera punching a black woman in the face at an airport, and I think he's in the process of being fired, or has already been fired, right? And so this happened in Miami-Dade, right? If you're an avid watcher here of the show here, we do a lot of news that come out of Miami-Dade. There's a lot of stuff that seems to be going over in that area. And this video footage, if you hadn't already seen it, and the shock value of it, for the simple fact that you see a Miami-Dade Police Department officer who was punching, they say punching, but it's not really punching. We've seen a punch, right? Cold cock, right? Of a 21-year-old, her name was Paris Anderson, right? And we see her, they say tumbling to the ground. She actually, you know, she took that punch, right? She, you know, saying that he gave her a good cock, but it was like you had to go grab her because she took your punch. She ate that punch, right? But we see that they say a verbal altercation at the Miami International Airport, right? And so, again, how this anonymity when stuff like this first happened, the officer had been named publicly to be identified by the department, but you know how it is with the social media and social journalists today. They're going to get to the back of the, the story and find out. So we come to find out that multiple sources had ended up revealing that the name of the officer's name was Antonio Clemente Rodriguez. Let me say that again. Antonio Clemente Rodriguez. And guess what they say about this officer? They say that this officer is considered a black officer of Puerto Rican heritage. Let me say that again. They said that this Antonio Clemente Rodriguez, a black officer of Puerto Rican heritage, right, who has been stationed at that airport for over 20 years, right? 20 years on the job, right? And in one instance, it can all be taken away from you, can it, right? It's because you lost your cool, right? So we see that the director for the Miami-Dade Police, Alfredo Morales III, he has started to begin the process to fire the cop following what we've seen as the violent incident, right? That's what they say, right? And so as a result of that, the administrative investigation into the officer's conduct during this incident, and it said was the intent to proceed with the termination of the involved officer. And that was something he had tweeted. He wanted to make sure, right? Because again, based on where we are right now, again, as we talk about May 25th, 2020, which is the day we all will pretty much in this country be infamous, known as George Floyd. And once that reverberated through the country and it seemed to seep out the country and went global, that now being a police officer and being excessive force will damn near just make it automatically that you're going to be terminated, right? And then to have the footage that shows it, right? And so what we see is that the MDPD holds itself accountable for the actions. And for this example, they went ahead and did what? They went ahead and terminated him right away, right? To try to show that there was some kind of, on the behalf of the department, that they said that we don't really condone this kind of police work. And what we see is that the Benevolence Association of Miami-Dade County, they were defending the officer's action. That they said, based on what you had seen, right, what you seen in the video, it was an open hand slap rather than a punch. I'm going to say that again. Do we need to see that again? Maybe what I'll do is let me play that again, right? Because they say what we saw there was not really a punch. So let me go back and let me see again. Y'all want to see that one more again? Let's go see that again. Check this out.
A self-proclaimed white supremacist carries more weight in a post-George Floyd world.
And this is particularly for white Catholic people. You don't have to hear our stories, nor see our pains to advocate for your fellow humans.
I really should. You acting like that you black. You acting like you white when you really black. Don't walk up on me for real. And what you want to do?
So, based on what you've seen again, once again, what did you see? Did you not see a closed fist? Or according to the Miami-Dade Benevolent Association, which is pretty much like a union, right? They said that the officer action saying was an open hand slap, right? And they actually have a term that they call when an officer smacks you. But what we seen there was a straight punch. We didn't see no slap, right? But they say that there is a tactic used by police officers when they do smack you like that. You know what they call that? A diversionary strike. Let me say that again. They call that a diversionary strike, right? Now, this was the president of the union. His name is Stedman Stahl, right? Now, he told this to the Herald, and the cop had acted appropriately against Anderson, who was clearly in his face. Now, again, we don't hate police, but we're sitting here to say, well, okay, based on what we saw there, right? This Miami-Dade Benevolent Association who defended the officer saying that what we saw, again, once again, your lying eyes, what it seemed versus what really took place, right? Do we need to see it one more again? Let's see one more again.
You acting like that you black. You acting like you white when you really black. Don't walk up on me for real. And what you want to do? What's your head body? I really should. You acting like that you black. You acting like you white when you really black. Don't walk up on me for real. And what you want to do?
Now again, I don't want to keep replaying that because again, showing a black woman being hit in her face like that. There's some people who are going to be in disagreement because they're going to say what they say, but anyway, so based on what you've seen there, I don't know, do you agree with the Miami-Dade Police Benevolent Association, the Stedman Stahl, who's the president of the union, who said that what you saw there was an open hand slap rather than a punch? Matter of fact, he even termed it a diversionary strike, right? That is something as part of the tactic that they teach. And accordingly, that's what he did. Now, again, he's a veteran police officer who's been at the airport for 20 years. And obviously, I guess, you know, what was it that made him, you know, snap like that, right? And so now even this Stedman Stahl is saying that he hoped that the officer rights and due process will not be violated in this proceeding. Now, again, his rights. Now, again, that's what we're talking about, independence of your lives. And today being the 4th of July, talking about Independence Day, and there's many people who will be waving the flag because of all the, you know, benefits and the opulence people have gotten and benefits to everything that the marquee says that the country is entailed, right? So a lot of people say that that's what, but there's another side. It's like, again, there's the video that I made. It's called The Two Sides of the Flag. There's two sides to this country. There's those who have benefited from it, and then there's those people who are still and strive to get the benefits. Now, again, where we at right now due to the country and it's going in this low state economically and everything else, that seems to be a far-fetched of the dream. But the point is, the fight has always been going to this point. And so to say that an officer's rights and due process to be violated, we as BADOS in this land, what about the rights that have been violated and whatever process of justice has been delayed? What they say, justice delayed is justice denied. And so, again, this Stedman Stahl says nothing other than the video and what we are seeing on TV. He said, now again, all you've seen is a video and what they say on TV. So what else is there to be, again, okay, what you have is to be teleported back to the situation to see what took place and what we see, what can be said that would be different from that, right? Right? So accordingly, what they saying is the startling assault was filmed on the officer's body camera, right? Shows Anderson facing two cops, yelling at one of them before getting close to his face. Now again, what did we just see? Did you see Miss Anderson facing two cops and yelling at one of them? Is that what you seen? Do we need to show that again? We're not going to show all. We're just going to show enough so you can see. So let's just see, right? Let's just see. Okay, so you see the two cops there, but I don't see her yelling. I see there was a conversation between the two, and obviously whatever something he was saying was not, she was not in agreement to it, right? Okay, and so they say that according to what we just seen again, she getting close to his face and saying, I really should, you black. Now, she was saying that not in his face as we're talking about with them smelling each other's breath, right? She wasn't that close yet. But she was saying what she was saying. And obviously, he was saying, he was talking to her as well prior to her doing that. So they was having a conversation between them two. And he said, you're acting like you're white. We all heard that, but you're really black, right? So right there, she kind of threw a dart at his heart or at his spirit when she said that, like, you're acting white, but you're really black, right? So now, what would make a person be upset with a person when you say you acting white and you know damn well you black, right? Well, let me show y'all something. I had seen a video that came out the other day, and remember that they said that the background of this officer here, Antonio Clemente Rodriguez, right, being a black Puerto Rican. So I seen this the other day. Let me show y'all this. And
what are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. This $1, and if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yes.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yes.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro. Aren't you an American Negro?
Okay. So we see that the young man here was talking with his grandfather or father. And he was talking about how Black Lives Matter in the United States and the people trying to find out. And he's trying to find out in his background as a Dominican, do they have, you know, African ancestry, and what kind of, you know, history that has entailed that, you know, a lot of people who speaking, you know, based on what done happened, and you talk about reparations, there's a lot of people seem like they're trying to merge into the BADOS family, trying to trying to get a check. So what he was trying to do is he's having this conversation, and you can see he's regarding him as what he's talking about in here. I didn't put the sound in here, but what he's saying is that in his family, and when he was in school, like you see the picture of Patrice Lumumba, and they used to call him that when he was a little boy. They used to call him that, and he didn't know who Patrice was, but that became a name that, like a nickname. So he felt like it was an insult to him, right? Now again, because he was black. Now he is a Dominican, and those who know about the Dominicans are kind of on, you know, you got Dominica and you got Haiti. Now they split that, and those that was a Dominican think that they white, right? Versus those who are Haitian. Those who Dominican hear this, you know what I'm talking about. So we see that he said, based on his glasses, he said he looked like Malcolm X. He chose that, not Patrice Lumumba, but he said, I look like Malcolm X, right? So now some people say, okay, ain't nothing wrong with that, but that's okay anyway. So the grandson is trying to get some background, because he even says when he was coming up, he felt that he was white, right? He didn't know that they had Africans in their background, right? And so the father's telling him about the Trejo regime, and it was like, you know, the thing about them is they want to make sure that their white race went up in status. So status was about being lighter, right? So there's an erasure. as into standard and status. So here he was that when he was talking about all the gripes that was going on in his family, what he was saying is his own family was calling him monkey, and then the kids at his school, but when it came to the detriment in his family, there was none, right? So what does this got to do with what you're talking about, Mr. Blow? Well, I'm talking about the other Antonio Clemente Rodriguez. The sister said to him, you think you white, right? But you black, right? So that triggered a nerve in him, right? That triggered a nerve in him, right? That triggered a nerve in him. Because why? As the young man that you've seen in that video, and I watched that video, but I didn't put the sound in there. But he was saying, he was growing up, he always felt like he was white. But now because of the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that's taking place and how BADOS and reparations and all this other stuff, so a lot of people are feeling like, you know, this is a good time to find out that we black as well, right? And you come to find out that even though you might be black in your genes that go back, but how you identify who you are today, you know what I'm saying, may not be you the African of that. You might be some ancestral in the bloodline, right? So what triggered him is the fact that he might have thought he was white, right? He might have had that notion in his mind he was white. And here was somebody black pulling his card and trying to remind him, hey, man, your ass is black. And you in here acting like a white man. So he was already triggered on that. So it didn't take much. He was already set off, right? And so they say that what you see is that after she said, you really should, we don't know why she said you really should, you black, you acting like you're white, but you're really black, what you gonna do, right? And then we see that she got close up, you know, near the officer. They say there's chin, right? And then suddenly the cop believes that Rodriguez snapped and punches her in the face. Now, these are the other ones that was observing. They say, like, this nigga, they snapped, right? And then they say the second officer rushes over there to pull them two apart. And you didn't see that. There was no pulling apart. They did what they had to do and put them cuffs on, right? And so, and then in the report that you see that Rodriguez says that he says that that is hearing claiming she headbutted. So what they're doing is the partners are trying to come up with a way to try to help him in the situation because you know he's going to lose his job, right? And so they said that, well, they heard him say that she headbutted me. Now, again, you didn't see no headbutt. Now, she did step forward. He stepped forward. All right, but I think he was already triggered once she said you acting white and you think but you black. And like I said, some people who come from these backgrounds that been trying to, as you heard, or you didn't hear, but you read that conversation between the son and the father or the grandfather and the Trujillo regime, to up the race, you had to keep getting whiter. And so you have people who were trying to erase the black part of them so that they could get the benefit of prestige, or let's say the benefit and privilege because of their more whiter skin. And so she triggered him. And so what you see, he hauled off on her, right? Right? He hauled off on her, right? So according to how this originate, they said that, you know, that Anderson was away from an American Airlines ticket counter, right? And accordingly, she's yelling and threatening obscenities at the staff member. Now they're going to get them to try to support. Now, again, he's been there 20 years. You know what I'm saying? You think he ain't cool with them that working at that front desk? They ain't going to come. Again, the camera's going to have to be able to point all that out. But whatever it was, she was to the side, sitting there, and then the conversation between him and her, right? But with all that being said, right, if that was really about getting her out of line, she was already out the line in the conversation they had. But once you got physical, right, because she, according to what they say, she said she should go over there and punch the person in the face at the ticket agent for whatever transpired between them two. And this was the beginning of all that. But what I'm saying is, based on my observation, what I see here, it looks like because she said him acting white and knowing he black triggered him, because in the hearts of his own heart, he probably knows he tried to be a white boy, right? He tries to be, again, that is what does sicken basically the planet, right? Independence of your lies. This is what we talking about. The independence of your lies, where people who deny who they are and looking for some kind of come up statusly on your status by becoming more white. At least that's what they think. But what is in your blood is who you're going to always be. That's your genetic, that's your DNA. So when you call somebody who know they fronting like that, this what's going to happen, right? That's what's going to happen. And so, that just go to show that here's somebody black, but you never see our police officers who are black who will attack white women, Chinese women, all these other. You don't see that kind of stuff. We only see other people who do that to our sisters, right? And I'm not going to say that the sister, her being she gonna man up, right? And so, that's a lesson that you got to learn, is that, not everybody can square up like that. But the fact is, if nothing was done with just some words, and you are in a profession, the standard is high for you who are professional and a veteran in that. But I know what it was. You got triggered. You got triggered because why? She called your bluff. She said you was white, acting white, but knowing that you black. And then even in the article talked about that you all are black Puerto Rican. So she triggered him. Otherwise, what could she just say in that moment that it got so heated that he would cold cock her? A lot of people going to say, man, she walked up on him, she stepped on that line, baddest one hit my hand, and you know what's going to happen. Everybody going to have their own interpretation about stuff, but that's what that story is there. Getting cold cocked in the face like that. But again, you got to remember, at this day and age, if you in that position, guess what? It's possible that you could, you could lose your damn job. And no matter how long your tenure has been there, right? But let me show this other story that I got here, speaking on the same lines of, independence of lies, right? Now, again, that was this, brother here, Antonio Clemente, not Robert Clemente, right? Robert Clemente, right? Right? I'm pretty sure that's that Clemente coming from, right? And Rodriguez, right? So, based on him being triggered on that, right? That he wanted to be white and trying to act, he black but trying to act white. But then there was a story that I seen the other day. And just to show you that the lies, right, that we're trying to be more independent of the lies that people are always trying to keep us under. Now I'm going to show you this here on this story, and I'll come back after that. Check this out. All right, so we are back, right? So there you go. Tennis star Naomi Osaka gives up USA or United States citizenship to represent Japan at Tokyo Olympics, right? Did y'all hear about that? Well, you know, Naomi Osaka, you know, everybody remember her when she beat Serena and then became the champion, right? And then now I think she's the highest paid woman in sports, right? So a story had came up that the other day, some of y'all might have heard about this, right? Where she, let's see. Let's do that. What she did is she gave up her her citizenship, right? But there was something else that came up because they said she was racist because she did a stand-up about the George Floyd situation, right? That's what happened. She ended up tweeting on Twitter and said, well, just because it doesn't happen to you don't mean it don't happen, right? And so what happened is there was a backlash in Japan about her advocating. And then there was a meme that she put up of a little bear. I think I had it, but I don't see that we don't have it. But it was a little bear that had a yellow skin and stuff. And then they turned it around on her and made it that now she was making fun of the Japanese. Ain't that something? Huh? Ain't that something? Right? Because why? Because she stood up, because she's Haitian and Japanese, right? But she grew up in the United States. To try to show some allegiance to being a Japanese, as you see on the screen, she gave up her United States citizenship, right? She gave that up, trying to be fitting in because she wanted to fit in with everybody as a Japanese. But see, that's how it is. The lie is you can't love both. You have to choose one or the other, right? So she gave up her citizenship so that she could be on what? The Tokyo Olympics and for the 2020 summer, right? Now, she has a dual citizenship from the United States and Japan. Right? She had one. But what happened is that she renounced her United States citizenship in order so that she could just be solely so that she could be as the Olympics were Tokyo, right? And as I said, her mother's Japanese and her father's Haitian, right? And so what the thing is, she was believing now when she was doing this was her thought at the time. She said definitely this was going to be very special and there would be no place. Now this is what she said. She said there'd be no other place that she'd rather play for her first Olympics would be as a Japanese. Now again, Haitians or Haiti, I don't think they have participants in the Olympics, right? So she couldn't represent there. She was born here in the United States, so she relinquished that, took full citizenship of being a Japanese. But based on her tenure being here in the United States, growing up and having a familiarity of the life that goes on here, especially with black people, she decided again, as I said, she tweeted. And her tweeting, based on her now representing and then relinquish her United States citizenship, now they done making her to seem like she kind of an outsider, right? She says she think this will be one of the most memorable things that ever happens to her. Now, that was what she quoted as saying. But look what then happened in that short period of time, right? Because it was under the 1985 Japanese law that dual citizenships are required to make a declaration of choice, right? So renouncing one of their citizenship before their 22nd birthday. So she had just turned 22, right? And so in order for her to be eligible to play for the Japanese Olympics team, she must also compete for the country in one or more national team competition hosted by the International Tennis Federation, right? The Japanese Tennis Association, right? And so what she did is she went in there. She won. I think she was the country during the World Tennis Association tour. She had won her second consecutive win in the China Open and under the Japanese flag, right? But look how things have just turned, because why? She stood out. She stood out to do what? To recognize that the injustices that go on and with the situation that happened here in the United States. And so why you think they would do that? Why would you think they would do that? We know why they did that, right? Because remember when she played against Serena, right? And when she beat Serena, right? You remember this image that they had did? Remember that image? Right? Look how they depicted Naomi. How they predicted Naomi Osaka. They got her like a white girl. Got Serena's is big, you know, going crazy, wild. Look at her lips and stuff, right? Look how they got her looking, right? And then got the umpire saying, "Can you just let her win?" But look how they got her as a white girl, blonde hair, right? See, sometimes some people don't pick up on some of the subliminalness when it comes to racism. Again, independence of your lies, right? So, in a sense here, what reference am I making? The fact that she denounced being a United States citizen to become solely a Japanese. So that means that now all your business should be focusing on about being a Japanese. Don't worry about the niggas, right? Even though that in Japanese history, and especially I think it's going to be a samurai, right? Or is it samurai or is it a ninja? One of the two, right? You had to have black blood in you, right? But what they're angry at her is, and then trying to reverse psychology and say that she's doing racism and making fun of them being yellow, when she said that was the most ridiculous thing, because I just put this out there as a meme for about what the representation of what that was. But they flipped it on her. That's because you went against their code, which is focus solely on us. Yes, we know nigga resides in you, but cut nigga out and be solely about Japanese, right? We want to be proud to be Japanese because you are Japanese, right? See, same thing as at the airport when she said you acting white, but you want to be black, right? In the case here, you kind of denounced, and that, I ain't gonna say that she technically denounced her black, but represented for Haiti. I don't think Haiti don't have a team to go to the Olympics. So she wanted, again, she has a name Osaka. I don't know why she got Osaka. What is the daddy's last name, right? You know what I'm saying? You ain't got the dad last name. So Japanese, and so she's trying to represent that solely and trying to be embraced by them. And then just because she wanted to make some, you know, use her platform, as she said, to make things better, look how they turn it, see? Because of the lies that people got about this thing that they want to be not nigga. But if you go back in that history of the Japanese, why is the Japanese and the Chinese don't like each other? It's kind of like the Mexican and the Puerto Rican don't like each other, right? Why do the Chinese and the Japanese? Because of why? It's the blood. But here's somebody who already got that blood in them, and y'all know, and see again what you want to do. You want to act white, because they got an honorary white card too. And so here you is, should not be focused on that, because again, all you got to do is look. How did they depict her? Look how they depict her. As a white girl. If you think I'm lying, they depicted her as a white girl. Right? They didn't depict her as another black. You know what I'm saying? They depicted her as a white girl. So you went against them, and they didn't like that. Right? They didn't like that. And so that's what the backlash that came with you, Naomi Osaka, if you should ever hear this. That's what it was. They sat there and said, hey, wait a minute, don't you be focusing on that shit. This is shit you need to be focused on here. That's their problem. See? And so, you know, that's just the time and age that we in right now, right? That's what we at, right? So, let me go something else I got for you here. Now, check this one out, right? Now, this one, I was like, oh, shit, what's going on here, right? Check this out. I'll be right back.
Wouldn't you love to see these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired.
In an exclusive interview with ESPN's The Undefeated, Colin Kaepernick opening up about his refusal to stand during the national anthem to protest racial injustice in America.
No, it was something that was really just a personal decision where, I didn't agree with what was going on.
Kaepernick, who took over as the starting quarterback for the 49ers just 2 weeks ago, making headlines and coming under criticism from some quarters when he began his protest during preseason. The 49ers quarterback not surprised by the backlash.
Part of the oppressive system is you're going to have that backlash for trying to fight for people. And that was
make of that?
Well, they're doing what they should have done last year. I absolutely agree. If it wasn't for the fact that we have a corporation, the NFL, that is actually was more interested in politics, this never should have happened. They put parameters around every other kind of demonstration and let they allow this young man to demonstrate against our flag. So the American people have spoken. I love the fact that free enterprise and Americans across the board, every color, has told these companies what they need to do. They'll figure it out now. Now the dollars are coming out of their pockets. Maybe now that we're not going to subsidize them, they will figure out how to make it happen, and they will punish the guys who do not toe the line if they have. And some guys will decide that that's okay. If they want to take the money and use it for this cause, that's fine. Let's see what happens during the off season, because I think now we're going to have a flood of income and mentoring and help for these kids who, like you see here on the sidelines, have lost hope in our country.
When it comes to sports and kneeling, do you think Colin Kaepernick should get another shot in the NFL?
If he deserves it, he should. If he has the playing ability, he started off great, and then he didn't end up very great in terms of as a player. He was terrific in his rookie year. I think he was very good in his second year, and then something happened, so his playing wasn't up to snuff. The answer is absolutely I would. As far as kneeling, I would love to see him get another shot, but obviously he has to be able to play well. If he can't play,
that you released on June 4th, in which you said, "We, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest." What motivated you to do that?
Well, we had spent the weeks prior to that, or the week and a half prior to that, listening, learning, trying to understand all the frustration and fear and sadness that all of us were going through, particularly those in the Black community. And I heard a lot from our players. And then a video came out on Thursday night, and I thought it was very powerful. I thought it was very clear. And I thought it was appropriate for me to respond directly to that and make it clear how we feel about the oppression of Black people and condemning racism. And the fact that we should have listened to our players earlier. Our players, including Colin Kaepernick, including Eric Reed, including Kenny Stills, and so many others, Malcolm Jenkins, so many people that really brought these issues to light. And it actually predates and goes back to 2014 in Ferguson, when Michael Brown was killed by police brutality. Our players have been at the forefront in bringing attention to these issues and really working to try to make a difference in the communities. And we have been doing that over the last couple of years, and I'm proud of the work we're doing, but we all have more work to do.
All right, so did you hear this? That the NFL to play Black Anthem before national anthem. What? You heard what I just said, right? The NFL is to play the Black national anthem before the national anthem. Did y'all hear about that? That as I gave you the montage, right, of Donald Trump when he came out, fired the son of a bitch, right? And then how, what Colin Kaepernick was talking about, what his stance was. And then he had Burris out there as a black man who felt like that, I don't understand why y'all sitting here allowing them to do this, And I mean, as a matter of fact, he was actually running for a political spot, right? But, just like that sheriff, those who seen the other show the other day, the sheriff that went out there talking about he was going to deputize his whole community or county, and just in case if the Black Lives Matter come in, using that as a political ploy, right? So we see the same thing. A black man come out and he's talking in opposition, not what he was standing for, but he felt like from a corporation and from a business standpoint, that's what he's talking about, not about what, and talking about, he was doing Martin Luther King, just, right? And then you end up having the president come back now say, oh, no, yeah, I think he should get another shot. And then you got the commissioner, Roger Goodell, saying, they were always on the top of it. We ignored it. And, so our guys, we needed to listen to them. And so this is what they come with, y'all. This is what they come with. This is what they did. Now, remember those who watched the show 2 shows ago where I told you about what the NBA did, right? So NBA has led where they're going. So let me show you what they're talking about here. So as you see on your screen, talking about the NFL to play Black Anthem before National Anthem, that's not going to go well, right? Right? But let me give you the details of this. Now they're going to play Lift Every Voice and Sing, right? That's going to be, that's what they're going to play. So this is, again, as I said, for those who watched that show about the NBA and them brothers going out there, trying to negotiate, trying to do things that they felt that would be better. But again, they were only going to stay within the 4 corners of the walls that what this organization was about. They weren't going to go out here and do nothing, nationally, right? As much as that the way they try to make it appear, right? So we see in the NFL, they now going to bring the table that they say, okay, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sing Lift Every Voice. All right. We're going to sing that song. And we're going to play this. We're going to perform it live, or we're going to do a play before the Star Spangled Banner. Is that cool? Now Star Spangled Banner is going to come after it, right? And they're going to do this for each NFL game during week 1. Now, wait a minute. Prior to each NFL game during week 1. Right? Okay. The league is considering putting names of victims of police brutality on the helmets as a decal or the jersey patch. Wait a minute. Symbolisms, right? Right? They also going to have a person familiar with the discussion, right? A person who's familiar with the discussion. What does that got to, I mean, really? I remember that the NBA doing, they're going to put Black Lives Matter near the scores table, another one by the announcers table. They're going to let them put the patches on, right? So basically they just follow suit what the NBA did too, right? So they said that the league is working collaboratively with players to recognize victims of systematic racism throughout the season in a varieties of ways. Now, wait a minute. You're going to be working collaboratively with players to recognize victims? What do you mean? Recognize victims, right? Throughout the season in varieties of ways. Anyway, the league and the NFL Players Association are going on, right? So they're going to still have these discussions about the conditions of anonymity because, okay, the person who's telling them this detail, just like with the NBA, had to fall under anonymity. So there's a leak coming from them that's coming to the press so that they're telling it so that if somebody don't have news who's touching this and covering this, then they said it, that you didn't hear it. But here, Black Minds News, we watching it. We on the watchtower, right? So, okay, they also have additional plans to include educational programs, storytelling about the victims and their families, similar to the league's PSA on Botham Jean, released in January at the Super Bowl. Commercial on Corey Jones featuring his cousin, former NFL star Anquan Bolden. Huh? Wow. Did y'all know that? Right? Let me say that again. These are some of the additional plans that they're going to do. They're going to use educational programs. Now, again, I'm not against education, right? But I got a kick in the head, right? I got a real kick in the head for y'all. I'm going to just show y'all how much this is just fluff, right? So again, they're gonna education programs, storytelling about the victims, families similar to the league's PSA on Botham Jean released in January, and the Super Bowl commercial on Corey Jones featuring his cousin, former NFL star Anquan Boldin, right? Lift every voice and sing is traditionally known as a black anthem, right? Right? So they say when the Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs host the Houston Texans to kick off the NFL regular season on September 10th, this is when it's going to be initiated, right? Okay. Now let me show you something here. Let me show y'all something here, man. Let me show y'all what they did here, right? Check this out. Now, right now, based on this second wave of the coronavirus coming, right? No one's sure if there's going to even be anybody in attendance, right? Right? And based on what y'all actually are sitting here, I ain't even going to say compromising. I'm not even going to say negotiate. I'm just going to say, like I said with the NBA, this is what we going to do. Y'all going to follow suit, and we going to get back out there and play, okay? This is what we going to do. All that other shit, that's not our business, right? So now that the second wave of the coronavirus may possibly come, so there's a possibility there's not going to be nobody in the stand. So that way it won't reflect that white folks, you're going to play what? You're going to play what? Oh, no, that's it. No, huh? Right? So you're going to have them protesting against it, right? So are you thinking that based on all, I can say for myself, I can't say for everybody who might be hearing me, but there's a lot of us who stopped watching NBA and NFL, right? We gave the sports up. Not just because of Corona and that, we just was like, based on what that happened. So as they trying to, grab back a lot of that black audience that left by thinking that you're going to entice with sing every voice? Is that what y'all thinking? Who came up with this idea with that, right? Who, really? I mean, what difference is what national anthem that you singing according to what's going on in the country? It's not about whether you singing the national anthem of Star Spangled Banner versus Lift Every Voice. That's not what the issue is. The issue is the motherfuckers not treating you right, not treating you with your human rights, won't look at and we're demanding the reparations. None of that. None of that. That's not. We're not going to talk about none of that. But we're going to get the symbology to show that we are a league that is transforming because you guys are right. Okay. This is what's going to get us through, and we're going to be all right. Okay. So now they said that the league is considering asking fans to sign a waiver and wear masks, right? So again, think about what they're saying. So the league is considering asking fans to sign. So again, so that means that white folks who won't sign the waivers, that's why you won't see them in the stands. They're going to use this to hide by the fact when white people are protesting because I'm not going to sit there and what do you mean? They're going to sing the nigger song? Oh, hell no, I'm not going to take for that shit, right? So they're going to use that as a way to say, look, you don't see them because a lot of them, they don't want to wear the mask. Okay. But check this out. Now check this out. The NFL announced last month is committing $250 million over 10 years to social justice initiatives. Let me say that again. The NFL is going to commit $250 million over the next 10 years to social justice initiatives. What they say targeting systematic racism. The battle against the ongoing and historic injustice faced by African Americans. $250 million to somebody who hears that on the top. Say, man, that's $250 million. Man, that's a lot of money. 10 years. All right. Break it down. When you break all this down, $250 million over 10 years, that means each year they're going to spend about what, $25 million a year? Now, $25 million, how many teams are in the league? 32 teams, right? So if you take 32 teams, right, and divide that $25 million that each one of them teams is going to donate to that pot to make that $25 million, you're going to get $781,000 per team. Popcorn money. Let me say that again. The NFL is going to commit $250 million for 10 years for social justice initiatives, what they calling it is systematic racism, and the battle against ongoing and historic injustice faced by African Americans. $250 million, $250 million, $250 million, sound like a lot of money, but they're going to spread it over 10 years. If you take that 10 years of that $250 million, break it down to 10 years, you get about $25 million a year. You got 32 teams. 32 teams is going to put in, for each team, going to throw in the pot $781,000 and some change each. You get what I'm saying? Huh? See, you see how, again, right? That's popcorn money. Just put it this way. All the popcorn, let's say all the popcorn money they make, and they play 16 games, right? The $781,000, how much it take in 16 games for them to pay that? That's just the popcorn money, right? Oh, you understand what I'm saying? So again, you know what I'm saying? Okay, the money for the systematic racism need to go to the people who has been affected. So the social justice initiative, right? So what, are they going to pay lawyer fees for? I mean, is this the money that's going to be used to pay for people who fall under the title of systematic racism, so that you're going to pay for their legal fees and for them suing, you know? I mean, how does this money matriculate down to the communities? How does this money get to them? You understand? And you're only talking about $780,000 a team for 10 years. What? How much money do they make on a Sunday? Ain't that talking about jersey sales and everything? Huh? Come on, man. Ain't nobody real about this shit. They're not real about this shit. You know what I'm saying? They're not real about it. Anything to get your ass back out there, run that goddamn ball, and get this money in our pocket. You not that's $781,000. You know what I'm saying? A game. As a matter of fact, they got to do that. Oh my God, man. Huh? That's each team gonna get $781,000. And pretty much what they say for a year. So they got to get that for 20. So think about it, it's even less than that, because they got to get that for 10 years. So that's $25,000 a year, right? So that's even less than that. What they doing, man? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it's gonna be. That's gonna be yearly. They got to give each team $781,000 for that year. How much money they made in them 16 games if they played a 16 game? And he was just talking about extending them games, wasn't they? So that's nothing, man. That is popcorn money. So I hope that these brothers who sat down and thought that this was going good, and again, like, we're not going to really look at this, but again, the NFL and the NBA, and I just seen before I did the show that Steven Jackson was talking about we're not wearing the red, white, and blue. Right? It still got him out there advocating and stuff. But look at this stuff that they calling themselves in the background, calling themselves trying to work out and trying to make the players to see that, okay, we trying to do something. Break it down. And when it comes down to it, you see it's nothing but, it's not peanuts, it's popcorn. Anyway, man, that's what that is right there, right? That's crazy, right? That's really crazy. So let me show you this here. And let me show you this here, right? Do we need to go there? Maybe we need to go there too. Let me see something before we go there. Let me see something to go there. Yeah, because we didn't show that, right? No, okay. Matter of fact, if you're talking about initiatives, right? About this one here, right? When they're talking about this $250 million, 10 years for social justice initiatives, systematic racism, right? So, did y'all see this here? And we'll be right back. Check this out.
Once violate a 15-year-old.
No, I'm asking a question. She's a child.
She bumped into me when
So if she did something wrong, she needs to apologize. If she did
this ignorant woman bumped into a 15-year-old.
Correct?
And you're on camera.
Okay.
You're feeling threatened.
Okay, well, go in.
No, Mom.
I got this.
You're blocking me from getting in my car.
No, we weren't. No, we weren't. No, we weren't. You're ignorant.
Go ahead, call the police.
No, we will, but you're not going to sit there and violate a 15-year-old.
She's ignorant.
Do it. Do it.
Go ahead.
Do it. I want you to do something.
She's very ignorant.
Yeah, I said it. You say something, I'll beat your white ass. Yeah, oh, I will. Do something. Please put your hands.
Do something.
Please.
Who the do you think you guys are?
Who do you are?
Your wife think you are.
You calling her name? She did nothing to you.
Yeah,
I didn't. I didn't. No, you didn't. You're very racist and ignorant.
You're racist because you're calling
no, you bumped it. She bumped into me.
Walk around calling white people racist.
Why would you bump into her?
You cannot just walk around calling white people racist. This is not that type of world. White people are racist.
Why would you bump her?
No one's
Why would you bump her?
I care about you. I care about you. And I'm sorry if you had an incident that has made someone make you feel like that. No one is racist.
If you didn't,
I'm sorry if you had something like that happen.
Ignorant. Very. Ma, watch.
Get the away from me.
You gonna get on her face.
You gotta get on my
right now.
Get the away. Get away. Get the away. Are you gonna hit? You gonna shoot me?
Get the away.
Oh.
Get away. Call the cops right now. Call them.
Call the cops.
Get the away.
Call the cops.
Get away.
She got the gun on me.
Call them now.
In the car. Call them. I'm telling. Get the
Call the cops.
Get the license plate. Get the license plate now. Cause you were never about to hit me with the damn car.
Don't you
hit me with the car? Don't you put the guns on me.
Yeah.
Call Richard back up to the police. Call Richard back up here now. I got it.
Don't you jump behind my car.
No, I ain't jumping behind your car.
Don't you?
Mom, stop moving. Stop, Mom.
Get the back. Back the up.
Don't point that gun on me. You were trying to hit me with the car.
You got all this on video? Yes.
Call the police. No.
Mom, stop walking.
Hello, police. Call the police. Keep the pictures and call the police. Call the police.
They pulled the gun out on us. These white people, they're so racist. They pulled a gun out on my mama, both of them. It was a white lady and a white man.
Yeah, I got it.
They pulled the gun out.
Yes.
So, as you've seen in the video, white couple arrested after gun pulled on black family, right? You've seen in the video there, you've seen that whole ordeal. Again, we get to teleport back to when the incident take place. See a white couple, again, who have been arrested. They said at least one of the handguns was pulled on a black woman and her daughter, right? And that they were at the confrontation. The confrontation happened in a restaurant parking lot in Michigan, right? Now, the two that was there was Julian Westenberg, who was 32, and Eric Westenberg, 42. They were charged with felonious assault, right? According to the Oakland County prosecutor, Jessica Cooper, right? And as we've seen on the video, the confrontation was captured on the cell phone video, right? Tequila Hill, which is one of the person who was black, and her daughter, according to what had happened, is that the Westenberg to apologize after she bumped into her on the outside of the Chipotle in Orion Township, right? And so what we see is that instead of her apologizing, the Westenberg instead started to yell at her, right? And so let me give you a visual of them two there, right? Let me Let me show you what these two looking like here, right? Let me show what they're looking like, right? Go ahead and show that picture of them, right? All right. Right, so that's the two right there, right? Those are the Westenbergs, right? And that's what you're seeing her. And she looked like she might have been pregnant too, right? She could have been pregnant. And so, based on the situation, we kind of heard her say, well, she kind of apologized. But then when the car backed up, I think it almost hit the sister. She kind of hit the car, tapped the car accordingly, right? And then they jumped out. And then, you know, this whole thing with pulling out guns. I mean, you know, that's kind of crazy, right, for a situation like that. Young girls, you can hear the terrifiedness and again, but some people are going to say, you know, maybe some people might have been antagonizing the situation. Maybe it wasn't outblown like that. You know, some people are going to see what they want to see, right? So that's the two there right there. And so, you know, again, the video shows that the Westenbergs get into their car, right? They said it's a tense back and forth. Well, I guess you could say it was tense, right? Right. But you see her husband is out there as well, right? And he said, who the fuck do you think you guys are, right? Because they confronting him. Now, again, we didn't get to see the part of the bumping of the kids and so forth. But if that should happen, I guess, you know, the rightful thing to do is just to be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry that ain't what happened, right? And so based on the confrontation that we see one of the girls say, well, y'all being racist and ignorant, right? And that kind of triggered them. Again, you know, a lot of people don't want to be labeled and considered to be stuff that their ass is acting and they doing, right? Right? That's what they doing. And so she says that you can't go, you know, just be going around calling white people racist, right? And that's the woman, Julian Westenberg, right? And she said, white people aren't racist. They care about you. Now, wait a minute now. That's a blanket statement. To say that white people aren't racist, that means to me there's no racist in white people, period, right? There's no white people racist nowhere, right? And I care about you. Now, wait a minute. She says it, that I care about you. You heard her say that when she was sitting in that front seat. And again, as that car was pulling out, you see that Hill, which is the mother, she taps the back window. And that's when she thought, according to she said, she believed that the driver was trying to hit her. We see that Julian jumps out, the woman, white woman jumps out with the gun and told them to get the fuck back, right? Now, according to what they write, they said, well, she put the gun down. She didn't really just keep it held up at her. But the point is, they pulled the guns out. What was the purpose of pulling the gun out? To what? To scare them, right? You could have just drove off or whatever, or just ignored them. Y'all had that goddamn it with you, right? So if you got the goddamn with it, what you ain't worried about with them, they just out there yapping, talking what it is. But that, no, you want to, you know, again, we in that season, we in that heightness. Again, there's the fertility of mind. There's a lot of things that is seeming to be crumbling the, you know, white supremacy stance, and a lot of them are feeling very fragile. So we look like this Hill had wrote on Facebook. She said, "So this is America." Now, you know, so this is America. Don't catch them slipping, y'all. Right? She said she never in her life had a gun pulled out on her before, right? And she never felt so helpless in her life, and she's so shaken up, right? And so, you know, the police end up coming, arresting them, right? But the funny thing is, there was a lot of people who came online on the social medias who were picking sides. Now, the thing is, what might be going over some people's head is the Westenbergs. I said Westenberg, but it's Westenbergs. That name sounds Jewish, right? Westenberg, right? Bergs, right? So they Jewish. And look how they was out there again, and you know, but she talking about she cared about black people, but she up gapping on mugs, right? Right? Now the thing is, according to the article, it talks about that the deputy seized 2 handguns from the Westenbergs, and they said both had a concealed carry license. So wait a minute, you had a concealed carry, but you brandished it in a situation that you shouldn't have brandished it. Yes, it was an argument, but what part of it, what you felt like your life was in threat to pull that gun out? So now what you see is that they both been arrested. Matter of fact, the husband lost his job. I seen the other day. He lost his job, so it's a matter of time. I don't know. Look like the wife is pregnant, so I'm not really sure what her status is, as if she have any kind of employment or not. But he done already lost his job, and so again, the instant karma. So what again? The NFL, that $250 million, the $25 million you're gonna do a year, is that what that's for? To help when black people in situations that need to have file for attorneys, are they able to get some of that money? How are people who are afflicted with this kind of situations that you said that these are the initiatives that you're going to do, how do we apply to get that money, right? Is it the only way we can get that money is because of these type of situations? You get what I'm saying? And so, you know, like she said, white people, you can't call white people racist. They care about you. Again, BADOS has been going through this for 465 years, right? And for 465 years, so we're in the 2020, yes, in history, they talk about abolitions and shit like that, but that's been few too many. But the pains and the strife and the ordeals have been long. So, when it comes to trusting and looking at everybody in the eyes of like everybody is worthy to be respected in that sense, you got to earn that. So in the sense of what your words said versus your actions is, then that words that came out your mouth about caring, all that shit went out the window when you started pulling the gun on everybody, right? Because it wasn't necessary, but you felt like it was. And you had your reasons for why you did what you did, but it happened. So that was that story, just in case somebody who didn't see it didn't know about it, right? So I think I got this one here. And we're going to go to this here. So, take it for what you want it. If you was in that situation, how would you handle it? You go down there, sit there and tell me whatever. But check this out, and we'll be right back.
The American dream is the sacred birthright of every American child. And that's what we have, is we have the American dream. And nobody's going to shatter the American dream, not the anarchists, not the agitators, not the fools, not the looters. They're not going to have any impact on the national dream like no other.
Strong statement there from President Trump. We are now going to bring in Donald Trump Jr., Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and President Trump's son. Don, welcome to the show as always. So you see there a strong message from President Trump to the agitators, to the looters, not standing for what so many mayors, unfortunately, and governors around the country have stood for. So what do you make of his strong statement and his executive order?
Listen, I think it's really important for people to hear that. I think people have to see it. You see what's happening now. They arrested the ringleader of one of these monuments. They're starting to arrest people that are desecrating public property. This is not stuff that would be allowed to go on, and it shouldn't be by anyone. So him stepping up and doing that when governors or these leftist mayors who have allowed this stuff to happen in their cities, when they won't step up, someone else has to. Someone has to be held accountable. I don't want CHOP and those kind of zones coming into my backyard. And that's what the left is trying to do. They want that to take over the rest of America. They don't want rule of law, and that would be just
Well, Don, I have news for you. If you're living in New York, and I believe you are, they're here. That Occupy movement is right across from City Hall, and they've already defiled a lot of it, and there's graffiti everywhere. And it was embraced by this mayor, and across from Trump Tower, they're putting Black Lives Matter if this mayor has his way in the street. What's your reaction to the mayor, this provocation with those words?
Well, listen, I think, he's obviously been a total disaster. He's done a terrible job handling anything as it relates to New York. Honestly, that was the case prior to COVID. COVID just highlighted his gross incompetence, really. So you see what's going on. I mean, they're almost encouraging this kind of behavior, and that's the problem. This can't go on. We don't want it to spread beyond that. This is perhaps the reason why you're seeing these spikes, because you can't go to work, Brian. You can't go to church. and you sure as heck can't go to school, but we can gather and protest and not be socially distanced. I mean, the hypocrisy that comes out of all of these people's mouths is truly disgusting. It's time to stand up for law and order. And again, if these mayors won't, and frankly, if they're sitting there encouraging the burning down of their cities, the desecration of monuments, this is no longer about racism anymore, Brian. Don't forget, they're ripping down and desecrating statues of Lincoln. I'm not unsure how that works. Grant, they're desecrating World War II monuments dedicated to black soldiers who fought for America. I mean, this isn't about racism anymore, Brian, and we have to stop pretending that it is.
So we back, right? So it says Trump shares letter that calls peaceful protesters terrorists. Let me say that again. Trump shares letter that calls peaceful protesters terrorists. So this story says, as you can see on your screen, says June 4th, which is, right, June 4th. He's talking about June 4th, right? That was back on June 4th when he called that out, right? And basically that's what's happening here. You're seeing that Don Jr. is out there saying on behalf of his father, because based on where the positions are right now, and that protesters were out there in Washington and they felt like they were going to take the White House, so they went out there, rubber bullets and flashbanged and everything else to them. And so they saying that, you know, they're trying to reverse the position of becoming the victims, right? And want to say that the protesters are actually terrorists, right? Like, how does that work, right? How do you become a terrorist when you're supposed to be protesting? Now, again, are there elements and stuff out there that's happening? Yes, there is, right? But when you use that word terrorist, right, in its broadest sense, the use of international violence for political or religious purposes, right, is the regards primarily to refers to violence during peacetime or context of war against non-combatants, mostly civilians and neutral military personnel, right? But when you look at the term terrorist or terrorism, it originated during the French Revolution of the 18th century. It gained mainstream popularity in the 1970s during the conflict of the Northern Ireland and the Basque counties or countries in Palestine, right? And of course, there was the increase of use of suicide attacks, and then in the 1980s onward was typified by the September 11th attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C. in 2001, right? Now, accordingly, there's no universal agreement about what terrorists or what is terrorism, right? And it is often used with the connotation that something is morally wrong, right? Governments and non-state groups use the term to abuse or denounce opposing groups. Various political organizations have accused of using terrorism to achieve their objectives. You got the right wing, the left wing political organizations. You got the nationalist groups. You got the religious groups, about revolutionaries, and the ruling governments, right? And there is no consensus as to whether or not terrorism should be regarded as a war crime. So the issue here is there is a motley group of, when you want to talk about, like, you got nationalist groups, you got religious groups, revolutionaries, right? People from left and right and other organizations, all commingled, but there's a heading that's being used, right? There's a title being used, Black Lives Matter movement, right? And so that means that the picture of all this is black. But if you go and see a lot of the videos and stuff that's putting out there, and unless you're out there firsthand, who do you see primarily? Who are the crux of the population out there? And so some of the stuff that you see them doing, you have to ask the question is, do our kids know how to do the things that they're doing when we're talking about, like, say, he talking about Chad, right? That was the Capitol Hill Occupy protest, CHOP, right? Chaz is the zone, right? And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, okay, we need to quell this down. This needs to be stopped because this is something that the Democrats are really, want. They say that the Democrats want this, right? Now, wait a minute. You talking about other white people who are Democrats, they want this movement in what you claim that it's doing? Or is it white people who are out there protesting as in support of Black Lives Matter, who are trying to show their allegiance by doing things that blacks might be out there protesting? There might be some looting, but we're talking about, when we talk about destruction of property and all that, is that really who it is? Or do they get blanket Black Lives Matter and black people? Because something that you heard Don Jr. said, well, this ain't about racism. How come it's not about racism? What else could it be about? That is the one thing that seems like they want to keep trying to take off the damn table, right? You want to talk about everything else, but you don't want to talk about that. What is this systemic about? It says systemic racism. So how can you say that what's happening here, again, I'm not going to say there's not other organizations who are out here who are not manipulating and using this agenda for them to further their agenda. We're not saying that. But the face, the poster, has a black face on it. So we see that this being the Independence 4th of July, there's some kind of like dog whistling as to, they want to try to put people into, to bring the military in, right? That's one of some of the stuff they talk about. They want to bring the military in. So what we see is that accordingly, they refer to the peaceful protesters who were forcibly dispersed from the park near the White House on Monday, right? And then in the evening as terrorists, right? So they end up being labeled as terrorists, right? Now, they say in the report, they call them peaceful protesters, right? Right? But what we see is that they said these phony protesters near Lafayette were not peaceful and are not real, right? But they said that this person who's talking about this, he's not citing any evidence. But again, this phony protester, what do we mean by phony protesters? That has to be the other element that is not part of that core of, let's just say, black folks. Now, black folks out there doing what they doing, I guess that would be more acceptable. But because you have other people who are supporting that, and they seem to be just on observation, they look like there's more of them. And so they like, you guys are out here, you're doing too much, and you really wrecking this country. Because again, the thought might have been to go down and take the statues down, but to actually go out there and do it, who's the one really facilitated that information, and who is leading all them out there doing it? You can say it's an organization, but there's a whole bunch of other people out there, just like Chad. Is that something that black people sitting down around? Hey man, we could occupy a territory. We know they had already did that up in Oregon, right? That sound like them Antifa, that white group, right? So here you doing, but again, to quell the whole situation down, you might be going after our children, right? You might be going after our children out there because that's who Black Lives Matter is supposed to be representing. Other people are out there to support it. But they might be doing a whole lot of shit that's causing more problems for you. And so they talk about how they were instilling these, 1900 curfews and, they're abusing and disrespecting the police, right? And they just keep one of the description that they want to put on the protesters as terrorists. So think about this too. When you talk about terrorists, don't they say, like you always hear like in movies and so forth, but the term or the saying is there's no negotiations with terrorists. So if you label them a terrorist, then there's nothing to negotiate. There's no terms that we're going to negotiate with you once we label you a terrorist, right? So we see that Donald Trump had shared this letter and this description of American exercising their constitutional rights, right? But he goes on and continues that he leans into the strongman approach. Like ongoing demonstrations, he declared himself your president of law and order, right? And so the peaceful protesters that was just outside the White House gate, they got dispersed out there. They put, like I said, they put the flashbangs on it. They put the gas. They were shooting them with the rubber bullets, right? And so accordingly, they did that so that Donald Trump could once again visit a nearby church. Now, again, he went to a church. Again, that church probably had been a boarded up building, but he was brandishing in the Bible for the cameras, right? And then minutes later, he would return back to the White House, right? And so what we see is that based on what he had did and all that, how they got them dispersed, LGBTQ military and veteran community called the Modern Military Association of America, right? They had issues, and they said that Donald Trump just crossed a very serious line that demands swift and forceful condemnation by every member of Congress. And the group's intern executive director of the Air Force veteran, Jennifer Dane, she said she was promoting the letter that labels American citizens people exercising their First Amendment. Their First Amendment rights as terrorists is an egregious breach of oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So here's the president that they out of the mouth that says that they're peaceful, but then you're trying to label them terrorists. And they said, well, as a president and one who's supposed to be upholding the Constitution, if they're following the Constitution and doing that, then why are you trying to label them terrorists, right? And so they saying, we part of the military as an LGBT military group, that Congress, you need to do something about this. This is a crucial part. And they say, well, Trump will be held accountable for the reckless actions. If so, that should jump off. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get ahead of the storm and say, hey, if he go ahead and try to, lick this off and bring this military out here, because that's what they're trying to do, right? And so accordingly, in response to the president's approach, it was this individual named Mathis. He released a statement. And he cautioned that the United States must reject any thinking of our cities as a battle space that our uniformed military is called upon to dominate, right? So they say, hey, I know in the back of your mind, I know the words that you're using, terrorists, it was because you're trying to get this where it's going to be a, using the military. Now, he said at home we should use our military only when requested to do so, but very rare occasions by state governors, right? So really the only thing that could be implemented is by the state governors, right? Militarizing our response, as we witnessed in Washington, D.C., sets up a conflict and a false conflict between the military and civilian society. Right? So you blurring the lines. You blur the line between what is lawful, legal, and what is constitutional. And so it's because of the look, right? In it's election time. And you're trying to make a stance. As you've seen in the video there, you heard what he said. The dream is for the American dream. It's for those that it was afforded to. But these are the people who it wasn't afforded to, who's saying that they want a piece of that damn pie. Or they're tired of the way it is in the, the whole nine as to, being, outside the loop, right? And so what they had is they had a National Guard helicopter that was seen flying low over the protesters that whole time, as using that as a part to do what? Show their presence, their military presence, right? Just to try to put some fear in them, right? And so accordingly, that there's investigation in the matter of having that there. And the problem is that the very talented low-flying helicopter pilot wanted to save our city. The problem is that arsonists, looters, criminals, and anarchists wanted to destroy it, right? And this is what Trump was tweeting. So are you sensationalizing it, or was really this stuff really happening, right? And that's for those who out there who really know on hands what's really going on. And so what we see is that, this has gone on a lot longer than they wanted. As Donald Trump Jr. said, in matter of fact, I think, not Sean Hannity, but Tucker Carlson was saying how they're going to come to your home, right? I seen a story where the whites that came, the lawyers that had the home, and then they was out there and they brandished the guns. Well, they went back there again yesterday, right? So now these people are getting a lot more fearful that the protest is coming to their door. Remember what Don Jr. just said? He said, we don't want no Chad or no Chop set up in our backyard, right? So they saying something needs to be done. But again, if everything is in the Constitution the way they doing it, it's kind of a dilemma. So it's like, if somebody decides to break that rule, as the article talked about, there's going to be a conflict here. So you're going to bring the military on. And again, I think they just also said that this protest has been the biggest in the history in the country. They broke that record. So that's where we at, right? You know what I'm saying? So you to the point you're going to label the children out there who feel like something not right. You're going to label them terrorists. But like I'm saying, there's a whole bunch of other people out there who could be deemed terrorists. It ain't just them. There's a lot of shit going on out there. And I guess the only way for you to try to weed all that shit out is to try to do that. But at what cost? Right? It is, y'all. That's how it is. A country that has not done right, try to, delay, and just hopefully that you die out. Never felt like they were going to never have to deal with the situation. That even in your own children would come to a realization that once they found out the truth, they didn't realize that it's not right. So now it's like, well, if you do, you liable to kill off some of your children, and you're already in a situation where, when you're talking about birth rates and producing more children, you don't want to do that. So you're caught in a dilemma. And so what is going to be the negotiation? I've seen some of the signs out there that people are holding and saying reparations, y'all. They put in reparations in the air. So only way you're going to be able to remedy this, everybody know what it is going to have to be, right? There's no getting around it. And so if not, then, this country is being judged from a spiritual stance, right? And so it's just at one of them crossroads, and whoever it is that's going to be the winner of this, that's what's going to be on your plate. And for some people, it may say that the trump card that can get you out of the situation is to go ahead and do that. I don't know if that's on the table. I don't know if that's in your thought process, but that is one thing you could look at as a way that could help you alleviate the situation. But who am I? I'm just Black Minds News. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming on here, clicking on the video. You can do, subscribe, share, write comments, tell me if my show full of shit, I'm full of shit, or you like whatever. But yeah, that's what it is, right? And let me go ahead. We'll get ready to get stuff up out of here because I got some other stuff I got to get into. But again, you ready to hit that, sir? So we can get going. Yeah, I'm behind. I'm supposed to do something else, right? It's okay. We'll get it done. Hit it. All right. Good. All right, there we go. All right, again, this is Black Minds News. I want to thank each and every one of you for clicking on the video. Come see what we do over here. We're trying to get it better. We're still working out some of the kinks so that the show can be a lot more fluent. But those who've been around, you can see that there is getting there's getting more clarity, precision. Now we're going to work on production of the show, right? So, again, when you see your brother, greet your brother. What's good, brother? When you see your sister, what's good, sister? If you can't do that much, give the universal nod. You know how we do, right? We living in a day and time at the crossroads where certain people in certain positions in this world got some decisions they got to make. People out here doing what they say that is lawfully to do on behalf of the grievance that they hold. Now, again, what happened, it seems that people are cluttering your yard and making business not be able to flow. And some people are tired of it and saying, well, how are we going to alleviate this situation? What can we be doing? Well, you see what the NFL doing, the NBA doing, right? They're doing some suggestive symbolisms, but really don't amount to nothing. But you done got to a people who, when you look at it, they ain't got nothing left. This is all they got left. And they can't let this situation bypass because it may not never get this chance again. So guess what? They want to hold some feet to the fire, and they want some results. And they're not talking about this symbolic gestures. They're talking about real, tangible things that can be held, felt, spent, and passed on. If nobody's really looking at that as a real issue or a real remedy, then this is going to keep going on and on and on. And then if somebody decides to make a call that may take this to something that they never seen, then I guess everybody will be accountable. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Blow Your Minds, and this has been another Black Minds News Report. To the next show, y'all. To the next show.